Sir, I'm going to step back.
That's my car. What's going on?
Commercial vehicles aren't permitted in residential driveways.
Huh.
HOA policy.
It's not commercial. It's my personal car. I live here.
Huh. Okay. Sure. We have no record of any purchase.
I don't need to see anything.
Residents-only community, and this vehicle is leaving now.
Ellen Whitmore had no idea what she just walked into. In the next 14 months, she would lose her HOA presidency, she would face a federal lawsuit, and her neighborhood would write a check for $1.9 million. The man she dismissed, Sergeant David Morrison, a decorated Army veteran, he had just come home from his third combat deployment, and he had bought that house 6 months earlier with a VA loan. His ownership was in the HOA records Whitmore never checked, and his Ring doorbell was recording everything, every word, every demand, every comment about people like you not belonging here. Before I continue, let me ask you, have you ever been treated like you did not belong somewhere you had every right to be? Drop your answer in the comments. Ellen Whitmore had no idea who she was talking to that morning. David Morrison was 34 years old. He had served in the Army for 12 years, 3 combat deployments, Afghanistan, Iraq. He earned a Bronze Star for his service. His job was military logistics. That means he was trained to document everything, every detail, every transaction, every piece of evidence. Morrison had saved money for 7 years while deployed. He lived in barracks. He lived in combat zones. He spent almost nothing. When he came home, he used his VA loan to buy his first house. The house cost $340,000. It was in a nice neighborhood called Willowbrook Estates in Georgia. This house meant everything to him. His grandmother had lived in a segregated neighborhood in Alabama. She never got to own property in a nice area. David wanted to honor her memory. His commanding officer once wrote that Morrison approaches every problem with patience and determination. He never backs down from injustice. On this Tuesday morning in April, David Morrison was just trying to enjoy his first week home in 18 months, in the house he earned, on the property he owned. Now here is what happened next. Ellen Whitmore had a reputation in Willowbrook Estates, and it was not a good one. She was 58 years old. She worked as an interior decorator. She had been the HOA president for 6 years. She lived in the neighborhood for 12 years, and she had power, a lot of it. During her time as president, 14 complaints were filed against homeowners. When lawyers looked at the records later, they found something shocking. 11 of those 14 complaints targeted Black, Hispanic, or Asian homeowners. White homeowners with the same problems never got complaints. In 2019, she reported a Hispanic family for having a commercial vehicle. It was just their work van parked on weekends. They proved they lived there. Case dismissed. In 2021, she called police on a Black teenager. His crime, mowing his parents' lawn. She said he looked suspicious. No charges. In 2022, she demanded proof of residency from an Asian American doctor. The doctor was just moving furniture into her new home. The doctor filed a complaint. The HOA buried it. Several neighbors privately called her the gatekeeper. One neighbor later said in court, "Everyone knew. If you were not the right fit, Ellen would find a reason to make your life difficult." Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Type unfair if you have seen this kind of behavior before. But this time, Ellen Whitmore picked the wrong target. It was Tuesday, April 18th, 2023, around 9:15 in the morning. Willowbrook Estates is an upscale neighborhood in suburban Georgia, 127 homes, average price around $380,000, nice lawns, strict rules, quiet streets. That morning was peaceful, birds chirping, sprinklers running. David Morrison had just made coffee, his first peaceful morning in 18 months. No generators, no distant sounds of war, just quiet. He had been home for 5 days, unpacking boxes, hanging pictures, learning which floorboards creaked, trying to remember what normal life felt like. His car sat in his driveway, a 2020 Dodge Charger, black, personal vehicle, registered in his name, not blocking anything, not breaking any rules. At 9:12 a.m., a white Mercedes pulled up. Ellen Whitmore. Behind her was a tow truck from Premier Towing Services. She was already on her phone, pointing at Morrison's car. The tow truck driver was Marcus Webb, 29 years old. He later said in court that Whitmore told him the owner had been notified and refused to move the car. That was a lie. Morrison heard the diesel engine. He looked out his kitchen window. He saw his car being hooked up. He set down his coffee, walked outside barefoot, army shorts, army t-shirt. What happened next was caught on video, and it would cost Ellen Whitmore everything. If stories like this matter to you, hit that subscribe button right now. Morrison walked toward his driveway, calm, hands visible, confused. Whitmore spoke first. "Sir, step back. This vehicle is being removed." "That's my car. I live and commercial vehicles are not allowed. HOA policy." "It's not commercial. It's a Dodge Charger, a muscle car." Whitmore looked at her clipboard. "We have no record of you buying property here. I have my mortgage papers inside, my deed, my VA loan paperwork. I can show you everything." "I don't need to see anything." Morrison stayed calm. "Then call the HOA office. They can check the homeowner list." Whitmore lifted her chin. "I am the HOA. Then you should have access to the records." She ignored him. "Even if you do live here, this car looks commercial. I've had complaints." "From who?" "I can't say." "What rule am I breaking? Show me the exact rule." She flipped through papers. She quoted a section about business vehicles. It did not apply to personal cars. Morrison did not raise his voice. He asked questions. He stayed respectful, but he did not back down. Then Whitmore crossed a line. "Look, I don't know how things worked wherever you came from, but in this neighborhood, we follow the rules. People like you need to understand that." Morrison paused. "People like me, what does that mean?" "People who don't understand how HOAs work." The tow truck driver stopped. He looked uncomfortable. Whitmore snapped at him. "Keep going, I'm allowing this." By now, 2 neighbors had come outside. One was Thomas Chen. He started recording on his phone. 10 minutes had passed, and everything was about to change. Type justice in the comments if you think Morrison handled this the right way. Morrison made a decision. He pulled out his phone. "I'm calling the police," he said calmly. Whitmore laughed. "Go ahead, they'll tell you the same thing." Morrison also opened his Ring app. He made sure Whitmore could see. The camera was recording. It had been recording the whole time. Then Morrison went inside. He came back with a folder. Inside was his VA loan paperwork, his recorded deed, his property tax statement, his homeowner's insurance. Every document showed his name, this address, purchased 6 months ago. He held them out. Whitmore barely looked. "Anyone can fake documents," she said. "I'm not a notary." She told the tow driver to keep going. Morrison spoke clearly. "If my car is damaged, I will sue." Whitmore smirked. "Sue? With what? You people always threaten lawsuits you can't afford." Morrison repeated it. "You people." That was the second time she said it. The camera caught both. Now here is where it gets interesting. The neighbors stepped in. Thomas Chen was a software engineer. He had lived there for 6 years. He walked up to Whitmore. "I've seen his mail, Ellen. He lives here. I've watched him mow his lawn. What are you doing?" Patricia Holloway was 67, a retired teacher, 10 years in the neighborhood. "Ellen, I saw the welcome packet you sent him. You know he bought this house." Robert Simmons was 52, an accountant. He started recording too. "This isn't right. I'm documenting everything." Whitmore waved them off. "This is HOA business. I don't need a committee." She looked at Patricia. "You need to mind your own business, Pat." But it was too late. 3 neighbors were watching. 2 phones were recording. The Ring camera had everything. 20 minutes later, police arrived. 2 officers. Morrison met them calmly with his folder. Whitmore rushed over. She tried to tell her story first. The officers checked Morrison's ID. They checked his documents. They called dispatch to verify the deed. It took less than 3 minutes. David Morrison was the legal homeowner. Whitmore's face changed. "Well, there must have been an error in our records. I was just trying to maintain community standards, if I had known." Morrison cut her off. "You didn't want to know. I tried to show you 3 times." The officers told the tow driver to unhook the car. They warned Whitmore that towing from private property without consent could be theft. But the damage was already done. The tow hook had scratched the car, the transmission was damaged, $3,000 in repairs. By now, Ellen Whitmore knew she had made a terrible mistake. She had attacked a man who spent 12 years learning how to fight and how to win. The police officers took statements from everyone: Morrison, Whitmore, all three neighbors, the tow truck driver. Morrison sent his ring footage to the officers right there on the scene. They took photos of the damage to his car. Whitmore was warned but not arrested. This was a civil matter for now. The tow company owner was contacted. He was horrified when he learned the truth. His records showed that Whitmore had told them the homeowner refused to comply. That was a lie. The company gave Morrison all their records. They refunded any fees. They offered to pay for his repairs. Whitmore's story fell apart piece by piece. She said there was no record of Morrison buying the house, but the HOA records clearly showed the sale from 6 months ago. Her own email inbox had the notification. She said it was a commercial vehicle violation, but the rule she quoted only covered vehicles with business signs or heavy trucks. A Dodge Charger was neither. She said she had complaints, but there were no written complaints anywhere, no meeting notes, no other board member knew about this. That evening, Morrison sent an email to the entire HOA board. He copied Whitmore. He requested an emergency meeting. He asked for Whitmore's removal. He asked for written proof that they knew he owned the home. He asked for payment for his car repairs. Within 48 hours, 2 board members wrote back privately. They apologized. They said they were worried about Whitmore's pattern of behavior. They asked him not to sue. Morrison replied, "I appreciate your concern, but this was not an accident. She knew what she was doing. I am talking to a lawyer." In the days that followed, things changed fast. Morrison was shaken but determined. He called his mother. He called his commanding officer. He might need time off for legal matters. Whitmore did not leave her house for 3 days. The neighbors started a group text. The subject line read, "This has gone too far." But the consequences were just beginning, because Thomas Chen had already posted his video to Facebook. If you want to see how people responded, keep watching, and if you have not subscribed yet, now is the time. The video spread fast. By 6 p.m. that Tuesday, Thomas Chen posted his recording to the Willowbrook Estates Facebook group. By 8 p.m., someone shared it to a larger county-wide group, 5,000 views. By midnight, a Twitter user with 200,000 followers reposted it. The hashtag #PeopleLikeYou started trending in Georgia. By Wednesday morning, local Atlanta news stations were calling Morrison. By Thursday, national outlets picked it up. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, they all ran the story. By Sunday, the video had been seen over 12 million times across all platforms. Here are the numbers. On Facebook alone, 2.4 million views, 89,000 shares. On Twitter, 6.1 million views, 340,000 retweets. On TikTok, people re-uploaded it. Combined views there hit 3.8 million. The comments were powerful. This man served 3 tours, and she treats him like a trespasser in his own home. The "People Like You" comment tells you everything you need to know. My grandfather dealt with this in 1965. 60 years later, nothing changed. I'm an HOA president. This is exactly why people hate us. She's a disgrace. News outlets covered it everywhere. Atlanta Journal-Constitution, WSB-TV, The Root, Military Times, Stars and Stripes. The tow company issued a public apology. They offered free towing to veterans. Whitmore tried damage control. She released a statement calling it a misunderstanding and blaming outdated records. Nobody believed her. People left angry reviews on her business website. It went offline. 5 days later, Ellen Whitmore resigned from the HOA board. But David Morrison was not done. This story was shared millions of times. Share it if you think more people should see it. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done in his situation? In June 2023, David Morrison filed a federal lawsuit. He sued Ellen Whitmore personally. He also sued the Willowbrook Estates HOA. The claims were serious. property damage, intentional harm, violation of the Fair Housing Act, civil rights violations under federal law. He hired a well-known civil rights law firm. They had handled housing discrimination cases before. They knew exactly what to do. During the lawsuit, lawyers dug into HOA records. What they found was shocking. Whitmore's emails showed a clear pattern. She only enforced rules against certain people. Internal messages showed board members worried about this as early as 2020. Nobody stopped her. 11 out of 14 enforcement actions targeted minority homeowners. White homeowners broke the same rules. They got no complaints. One email from Whitmore to a board member said, "We need to be careful about who we're letting into this community." Want to know how much she paid? Here it is. In March 2024, the case settled. Morrison received $850,000 in personal damages. The HOA's insurance paid $1 million in punitive damages. Vehicle repairs and legal fees added another $50,000. The total was $1.9 million. But money was not the only consequence. Whitmore was permanently banned from serving on any HOA board in Georgia. The HOA was required to provide fair housing training to all board members. A third party would oversee enforcement actions for 5 years. Whitmore's interior decorating business closed within 6 months. She lost most of her clients. In August 2024, she put her house up for sale. She could not stay in the community anymore. Her attorney released a statement. Whitmore expressed regret for any misunderstanding. She admitted no wrongdoing. She refused all in tea. Our views. Morrison responded simply, "This was never about money. This was about making sure no one else has to stand in their own driveway and prove they belong." After the settlement, David Morrison gave an interview to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He spoke about what the experience meant to him. "I've been in combat zones. I've had people shoot at me, but standing in my own driveway, being told I don't belong in my own home, that was different. That was personal. That cuts somewhere deeper." He talked about his service. "I spent 12 years defending this country, defending everyone's right to own property, to live freely, to be treated with dignity, and I come home to this." He had a message for other veterans. Use your VA benefits, buy that house, don't let anyone tell you that you don't belong, and if they try, document everything, fight back. You've already proven you know how to fight. He had words for HOAs too. Your job is to maintain property values, not to decide who deserves to live in your neighborhood. The moment you forget that, you become the problem. Morrison wants real change. He wants HOAs to verify ownership before any enforcement. He wants mandatory fair housing training. He wants real consequences for discrimination. He thanked the neighbors who helped him. To Thomas, Patricia, and Robert, thank you. You didn't have to speak up. You chose to. That's what real community looks like. His final words were powerful. "I didn't fight for this country so I could come home and be treated like a stranger in my own driveway, and I'm not going to be quiet about it." This case exposed something bigger than one woman's prejudice. This is not just about Ellen Whitmore. Studies show HOA discrimination complaints went up 34% in 5 years. Black homeowners are more than twice as likely to get violation notices as white homeowners in the same neighborhoods. Most victims cannot fight back. They do not have cameras, they do not have witnesses, they do not have money for lawyers. Morrison had all three, most people do not. HOA boards have almost no oversight. The rules are often vague. Words like community standards can mean anything. That is the problem. So let me ask you, should HOA board members be required to pass fair housing training before they can enforce a single rule? Should there be real oversight for neighborhood associations? Should we ask ourselves why, in 2024, a decorated veteran still has to prove he belongs in his own driveway? Because if we do not fix the bias in housing enforcement, if we do not hold people like Ellen Whitmore accountable before the cameras start rolling, if we do not see that community standards is sometimes code for people like us, then we are just waiting for the next Ellen Whitmore, the next David Morrison, the next driveway standoff that should never happen. Comment below if you believe HOA boards need real training and real consequences. Tell me what you think. If you believe stories like this matter, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. We are going to keep telling these stories. We are going to keep exposing discrimination hidden behind policy. We are going to keep fighting for homeowners' rights, for veterans' dignity, for the basic idea that where you live should not depend on how you look. This is not just about one HOA president in Georgia. It is about who we decide gets to belong and who has the power to make that decision. See you in the next one.